In this video, we're going to cover the myQLink database and just a general overview of all the options that we have. Once you log into the database, you'll have a list of your database names listed on the left-hand side. This does have to be managed when databases are added or if we no longer manage facilities. So to do that, you're going to click on the Manage Users Access to Multiple Databases, and you'll search for your name. Once you click on your name, you're going to see all of the available databases on the right. Obviously, the ones that are checked are the ones you have access to. The ones that are not checked, you don't have access to. So when databases are added, you'll need to make sure you go under your user profile and check the appropriate database boxes and then click Save. Once you make any of those changes, and you go back to the main screen, then now you would see those databases would show up on the left or be deleted if you had taken some away. So once you're logged into the system, then you're going to select the database that you want to get access to. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to find out what's in the tower at that facility as far as the current medications and the current quantities on hand. To do that, we're going to click on Cabinets, Max Mins Quantity on Hand. This is going to give us a list of everything that's currently in that cabinet. So it goes down and shows your zones, the 0, 6, 0, 5, those are your drawer numbers, all the way down to zones 12 is your bottom zone. Now, you can use this, you can search, for certain meds by using the search box. So in here, if you're looking for alprazolam, you can start typing in the name and click the magnifying glass. It will show you all of the alprazolams. So we have the two different strengths. It's going to show you what the max is, what the min is, and how many are currently on hand. So this is going to show you we have 30 of the 0.5s and we have 17 of the 0.25. So this is a good way to search for what's currently in the cabinet. So moving on to employees. Under employees and employees, these are employees that have access at the cabinet itself. So these are going to be your facility employees, and then you'll obviously see pharmacy employees in here also that will need to be out on site. A couple of things that we do here. So most of the facilities are going to manage their employees at the cabinet themselves. There may be an instance where we need to add a new DON or a new ADON into the system. And that, if they can't do that at the facility, then you can definitely do that through here. So the admin user template, this is a facility admin user template. So if we're going to add a new DON, you would click on the template and then you would click copy. Now what this does is it saves all of the permissions, but you add the personal information for that particular nurse. So if we're going to add somebody new, the employee ID is their first initial of their first name and their last name. And then we'll do first name, last name. The user ID should match the employee ID. This is what they would use if they were manually typing into the tower. The password is a 4-digit number. You can type in any number there. This can be changed at the cabinet, or if we need to change it for a DON or an ADON, we can do that through here. Because we selected the admin user template, the department now is associated with an admin user. It's going to show you the different checkboxes. They're flagged as a facility administrator. This means they have limited access at the cabinet as far as administrative levels. They'll be able to manage employees and fingerprint employees, and that's all they can do as far as the admin features. Discrepancy resolution, so this allows them to clear discrepancies at the cabinet. Anytime a discrepancy occurs with a controlled med, they have the ability at the cabinet to resolve that. Under our standard permissions, so the admins can witness any controlled substance transactions that we have set. They can issue, cycle count, and stock controlled substances, medications, and supplies. They also have the ability to override all items. So if there's a medication that's not showing up on a patient's profile, they can add that item, whether it's a controlled med or not, to the profile to issue that medication out. Now, once you have everything selected, you're just going to click Save. And now that employee is added into the database. Now, to change an employee's rights from a general user, say, to an administrator, if somebody got a promotion, that we do need to change here in the myQLink. So what you'll do is you'll search for the employee. We'll click on the employee. You can see that I have this one set up as a general user. So we have the general user attributes here already checked. To change this employee to an administrator, you first want to change the department. Now, changing the department does not change the employee attributes. This you have to do manually. So if we're going to a facility administrator, we're going to check the facility administrator box. We're going to check the discrepancy resolution allowed. And we're going to check the cycle count features. So this new admin can cycle count controlled subs, medications, and supplies. Then we just click Save. Now, if we search again for that employee, you're going to see now it's set up as an admin, and we have the admin permission set up for that employee. We're not going to have anything really to do under patients here since we are interface. That'll all be done through framework. Under items and items again. So this is the complete pharmacy formulary. Really, if you're going to make any changes in here, this is going to be done through the CR database and not the facility database. So we're not going to really cover too much under this here. The one thing that we are going to cover under here is going to be our discrepancies. So if you click on items and resolve discrepancy, you can see we have several open discrepancies here for this facility. Now, these discrepancies also show up at the tower themselves, and this is something that our DONs and ADONs should be taking care of on a regular basis. So if we click on this, this is going to show us the medication that there's a discrepancy for. It's going to show you the prior 2 transactions, when the discrepancy was discovered, and any subsequent transactions. Generally, your issues are going to be between these 2 people. So one of these people made a mistake, and this is what we'll have to research and figure out what's going on here. If you look at this person, they did a B transaction, which is a billable or an issue. They did issue out to a patient. What you're really looking for here is the computer on-hand count. So when they went to issue this med, the computer said there was 11. When they did the blind count back, they said they found 11. They issued 1 med, and that left them with 10. So this all looks good. The next nurse came in to do an issue for a patient. The system said there was 10. The nurse said they only found 9 and issued 1, which leaves them with a negative discrepancy of 1. Generally, what we've seen in here and what could be the issue here is that this nurse, when they did their count back, is they took out the 1 med that they wanted to issue and then they counted. Now, this is something that the staff's going to, or the DON or ADON is going to have to speak with this user and find out exactly what happened. It looks like this is just an honest mistake. But you'll have to research these 2 people, find out what happened, and then to clear the problem, there is a drop down. You could select one of these reasons. You could also type in a reason why. If you wanted additional information, you could put that in there. The resolver here, now this would be the employee's user ID to log into the cabinet. So for instance, for myself, when I set myself up, it would be the J Bedford. It would be whatever password I put in, a 4-digit number, and then you would have to have a witness. Now, here in the database, you do have to type all of this in. If you're resolving this at the tower, then the person who's resolving it is already logged in, and the witness would just have to put their fingerprint on. If you're helping somebody clear up discrepancies in the myQLink, then you're going to have to type in their witness ID and their password. Then you would click Save, and it would clear that out. This does get quite a bit involved, so if there's any questions or anything, please let me know. That's all that we really need to cover under the items. So now we get to the purchasing tab. So under the purchasing tab, we're going to have purchase orders, create a PO, and then suppliers. Under the purchase orders, this is going to show you all the open purchase orders that we have for this facility. If you click on one, it's going to show you how many items, or which items I should say, are in that particular PO. Once these get filled at the cabinet, these will show up as 0. Once all 3 of these are filled, then this purchase order will fall off the list until a new one is generated. You can edit these. So for instance, if you have this furosemide that's in a matrix drawer, and maybe you put this in the cabinet without going through the PO process or scanning the barcode, you could check the box on the right and you could click on delete item and it would delete that off the PO. If not, it will stay on this PO until the PO expires, and then the next time the PO generates, it will add that item back on there. You also have the option to delete the PO. So if for some reason these items got stocked while you were on site, you could just delete this PO and then we wouldn't have to worry about that. You can also delete all POs, but we'll leave that to administrators to do. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can create a new PO. So if you have a facility that calls you and says that they just issued all of one particular medication and they'd like to be able to get that ordered as soon as possible, you can manually generate an order here. Under the supplier, so there's 2 suppliers that we use: controls for the controlled medications, and we also use pharmacy for all non-controlled medications. So if we click on pharmacy, we have the option to do at or below minimum. We could do all items or anything below max. We're going to leave this at or below minimum. When we click go, if there were any items that were below the minimum, they would show up here. Because we have an abundance of open POs, nothing here has reached the minimum. Now, under suppliers, suppliers are used for 2 different reasons. One is the supplier of the medications that are in the tower. So again, we have control supplier for all the controlled meds and pharmacy for all of the non-controlled medications. Supplier is also used to track the emails for the facilities on who's going to be receiving the automatic reports. So we keep that here under the facility supplier. And you can see on here under the email, this is where we keep the emails for the facilities that need to receive the reports. So when we do an edit here, into the email field, you can add multiple emails. So if you have a DON, an ADON, an administrator, and so on, you can add all the emails here at once. It's a semicolon. Now what's different here is there's no space. And then you add the next email. And then if you needed to add more, another semicolon, no space, and you would add the next email. So you can have multiple emails in here just under the facility supplier. For the facility supplier, now there are required fields. So if you add a new supplier as facility, it is required to have something in the PO email. This is not something that we have to have an actual email. You can just put an X. Also under supplier, we do not need the generate auto PO selected. Because this is a facility supplier, there are no medications under the facility. It also does require you to check one day. You can just check any day. It has nothing to do with the reports, but it's just a required field in here. We also do not need the delete old POs. So I'm going to save that. Now for automatic reports, again, you save that under the facility supplier. Then when you go to the auto report setup, and generally for facilities under controlled subs, we have 2 reports that we set up. Controlled subs by cabinet, bin, and time, and discrepancies unresolved. So if we click on this, If you click Add Edit Email Addresses, only those suppliers that have emails in that email box are going to show up here. If you were on the facility supplier and you added or edited the emails that are in there, it will update this field automatically. So if you update with a couple more emails here under supplier, you don't have to come into this report to check it. It will automatically update that for you. So that's purchasing and suppliers. You can also see under here, we do have several other people set up. And again, this is more for reports, to set up the automatic reports. So under the reports tab, we have two different types of reports. We have a run report and an auto report setup. Under the run report, this is, now they do have the same report categories and the same reports. The reports, run report is for when you want to manually pull a report right now and view any transactions or things like that. This just means you're going to pull it right now, take a look at the data, save it or email it or what have you with that report. The auto report setup is when you want to set those reports up to get automatically emailed to either a facility, to yourself, or to somebody else that may need to receive those reports. There are several categories in here that we will use. Controlled subs, again, this is reports for just anything with controlled substances. It does default to transactions. Some of the main reports under here are transactions by patient. If you want to track a certain patient and what they received out of the tower through a certain time frame, you can do that. There is also a transactions by employee. So if a facility is curious about what certain employees got out of the towers, you can click this report and you can narrow that down to a specific employee. Some of the reports that we like to send to facilities are under inventory. One that we'd like to send to them is the inventory on hand labels. What this report is this shows them what's in the tower. And it's an abbreviated version that only shows what bin number it's in and the description 1 and description 2. So it's just a very basic report that shows them what's in their tower. If you run this to send to a facility, I would definitely recommend that you export it to PDF and then send that to them, and then they'll have that for their records. If you need to know how many medications are on hand for those items, you can do an inventory on hand C11. When you run this, it's going to give you a lot more information than the inventory on hand labels. So this would be something that we would use internally, or if we need to send it to a facility because maybe they need to know the max, the min, and the quantity on hand for each of those meds. So this will give you that information. So it's a little more involved. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to run this report and you want to narrow things down, that you export it to either CSV or Excel, and then you can manipulate that. You can put filters on, you can change the order and how you want to do that and things like that. So that helps a lot with that one. And I think that's really it as far as the basic reports. So now when we go to the auto report setup, we're going to leave this on controlled sub. So again, we set up the discrepancies unresolved and the discrepancy transaction report for the facilities. So to set up a report, you click on the report. You would click on Add Edit Emails. Again, you're going to select which emails you would like that report sent to. The file type. So whatever you want to send that file type in. And then the schedule. So this one we have set up on a daily basis. You can do daily, weekly, monthly, or days. If you do days, then you can pick and choose which days you want that report to be sent on. So we'll leave this on daily. When you set the time for this report, this is the time that the report is going to generate. Now keep in mind that this time is going to be based off of your computer time. So if you're setting up a report for a facility that's in a different time zone, you're going to have to adjust this accordingly. For the date, so the date is really used for the monthly reports. If you're doing a monthly report and you want it sent on the first of the month, then you would just change this to 1 and make sure that this is changed to monthly. Date selection. So the date selection here, this is going to change depending on the report that you're setting up. Right now we're doing discrepancies unresolved. This I like to set for 180 days, the last 180 days. I'm going to change this because I'm in a different time zone. The reason I do 180 days is if a facility is receiving this report and they're on vacation, they don't have to open up all the reports to see what's on there. This is going to look back 180 days. So as long as they open the most recent report, it will show any unresolved discrepancies. You don't have to worry about a start or end date, or a crib selection, or an item selection. So since I did make some changes, we're going to click Save. Now, when we do a transactional report, like this one here for the controlled substance transactions, this one we do set up a little bit differently. This one's being emailed on a weekly basis at 7 a.m. every Sunday. It is looking back the last 7 days, so it's only going to show you for that previous week what was issued out of the cabinet. If this was set up on a daily basis, then I would definitely recommend it would be scheduled to yesterday, and it would only have 1 day's transactions on that report. Okay, so we didn't make any changes here, so we're not going to worry about that. So that's reports, run report. Again, that's when you just want to pull a report now and take a look at the data, or save it to email to a customer. Auto report setup. Again, for our facilities, we only really set up discrepancies unresolved and controlled substances transaction report. Now, when we go to the cogwheel, under the cogwheel in user security, this is where we can set up folks to receive sync alerts. So if the cabinet goes offline for more than 20 minutes, it will send either an email or a text message. That's the only thing that's really used for facilities. I will manage these on a daily basis for all facilities, so it's not really required for the facility, but if it's something that they want to receive, so they know when their cabinet's offline, you can set them up here. To set somebody up, it would be first initial, last name. You would set them up with a password. Now the password is a minimum of 8 characters, 1 uppercase, 1 number, and 1 special character. We would leave this as read only. They're not going to really need to log into the system to get the sync alerts. This is just going to send them either a text or an email. First and last name. We don't need any address or anything like that. This, you would just put in their email here. Phone number, if they wanted to get a text message, then you would put their phone number in here, their mobile phone. And then you would check to receive sync notifications. So either email or phone or both. And then you would just click create. Now you do have some other links at the top. So one other thing, so when you're finished with a database and you want to go back to the list where it shows you all the databases, if you click where it says BD Pyxis myQLink Cloud Software, this is going to return you back to the main screen. So if you have to switch between databases, this is where you're going to click that takes you back to the main screen. Now, when you're in any of the databases, and actually even on the main database, we still have some options up here on top. There is a user guide. So this is a user guide that goes over all of the myQLink. You see that I didn't go through every option under each of these drop downs because there's only certain things that we use. This guide will kind of walk you through anything else that I may not have covered. You can chat with support. So if you're in here doing some work and you have some questions, you can chat with support and they can help you out with that. The customer portal is where there's some additional information for you. It will bring you to a password. So the password here, it's all lowercase. It's Medbank, MEDBANK. and then 123. Once you click on that, this will take you into the BD Pyxis MedBank customer portal. There are release notes in here, so anytime they have a new version, there'll be release notes. There's user guides for the cabinet towers and for the CR stations at the pharmacy. There's also quick reference guides. So these are the guides that we do leave on the cabinets after we have an install. If you click on these, there is a PDF version. So if a customer is looking for something specific, maybe on how to fingerprint employees, if they don't have their guide, then you could print out single pages of this and send that to them if they need it. There's also a learning center in here. They do have videos in here on learning certain aspects of the MedBank system, so you can sign up for those if you wish. Okay, and then it shows that you're logged in. It does show on the top right what database you were logged into. So when you go back to the main one and select your next database, it will show that up here on the right. When you log into a database, they always have a sync status. So green means that the myQLink is communicating to the tower, and the tower is communicating to the myQLink. With those sync notifications, if a tower is not syncing for more than 20 minutes, it will show this status as red. We do have some red ones in here for sites that are not active yet. So if you click on the red flag, this one's going to show you, because we haven't set it up, it's not going to give us our information because it's never run before. If we get to one that had been active, it will show you the computer name, when the last time it's synced, and how many pending transactions. This is one that we've obviously disconnected from and don't have set up. Also on here are the support numbers. So if you're in here and you have some questions or anything, you can email support, you can chat with support, or you can call them at their support number at 866-930-9251. And once you're done, we do want you to log off, and this will take you back to the main screen.